joining Gwinnett County Public Library for today's program, Accessible Books and You. Today, Sarah Trowbridge, an outreach librarian with the Georgia Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, will talk about eligibility requirements, the application process, and additional services available with GLS. Please welcome Sarah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Trowbridge, and I want to thank Amy and Gwinnett County Public Library for allowing us to come and speak with you today. I am an outreach librarian with Georgia Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, and that's GLS for short. GLS is a public library service for citizens of Georgia that meet certain eligibility requirements, and I'll be telling you all about those today. We used to be known as GLASS, so if you've been around for a while, you might have heard of us that way. That stood for Georgia Library for Accessible Statewide Services, but no one could remember what the acronym stood for, really, and didn't understand who we served or what we did. So last year, we decided to rebrand, and we selected GLS because it much more clearly states who we serve and what we do. GLS is a network library of the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, or NLS. NLS is part of the Library of Congress. And the NLS network libraries are sometimes referred to as talking book libraries, so you might hear that term. Every U.S. state has at least one. NLS was founded in 1931 specifically to serve World War I veterans who had been blinded and disabled in the war. And when President Herbert Hoover signed the Pratt-Smoot Act, that established what we now know as NLS and all the network libraries, including us, GLS. Georgia was one of the first states to join the network. And our mission and mantra is that all may read. So it doesn't matter whether it's through audio or large print or braille, our services provide a number of options for all of our patrons to access published books, magazines, sheet music, and foreign language titles. So GLS is a department of the Georgia Public Library Service, or GPLS. GPLS is the state library administrative agency for all of Georgia's 410 public libraries, and that's about 60 library systems. And GPLS in turn is a unit of the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia. Julie Walker is the state librarian, and as such, she's the chief advocate for public libraries in our state. She assures that Georgia's libraries receive the funding that we need to continue to support all of the citizens and be a vital resource for all of your needs across the state. And we love this quotation from Julie: "Libraries exist to help people succeed during every phase of their life." We firmly believe that, and I know that your librarians do too locally, and we just want you to know that GLS is an important part of that mission. So, Georgia Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, GLS, supports accessible library services in Georgia by promoting the use of assistive technology and by providing accessible reading materials to all who qualify. So who does qualify? That would be any Georgia resident of any age who, due to a disability, is unable to read standard print or can't hold a book due to a physical condition. And that includes people who are legally blind. It also includes those who have low vision or perhaps are unable to focus long enough to read standard print, even with glasses. People who are unable to hold a book or turn the pages of a print book because of a permanent or a temporary disability also qualify. And we also serve individuals who are diagnosed with an organic reading disability, such as dyslexia. So let's talk a little bit about the future. In Georgia, by the year 2050, it's estimated that there will be 226,000 individuals with a visual disability, and nearly 100,000 of those will be blind. Of those who are visually impaired or blind, 65% will be age 80 or older in the year 2050. So we expect that there will be a greater than 350% increase in visual impairment among people 80 years and older by 2050. It's also projected there will be 1.7 million cases of cataract, 2.3 million cases of refractive error, over 250,000 cases of glaucoma, 117,000 cases of macular degeneration. And for diabetic retinopathy in adults age 40 and older, it's expected that the total caseload will increase 150% by 2040. And those projections are all from an article that was published in the American Journal of Ophthalmology in 2020. So all of those numbers are not to boggle your mind, but to remind you that the need and the demand for our services isn't expected to go away anytime soon. So we have lots of ways to read. GLS patrons have the option to receive a talking book player and a cartridge in the mail, delivered at no cost. So here you can see some examples of what the machines and the cartridges look like. We have an advanced player with some extra buttons, some enhanced control over the listening experience, and then there's a standard player for those who just want to simply press a button and play. The postage for receiving those in the mail is always prepaid. It is all sent via Free Matter for the Blind, and that includes the return postage. So the machines and the cartridges come to you, postage paid, and you send them back to us at no cost to you. Cartridges can hold from 1 to 10 different titles. That's a digital copy of a books and or magazines, and those are specified by the patron. We also offer access to Braille materials, and we partner with the Utah State Library to provide those. So our Braille readers request those, and they're mailed to them at no cost from Utah and sent back same way. Large print sheet music and also all kinds of foreign language titles can be requested from NLS by our patrons. And you keep each cartridge as long as you need to. The books have no due dates. There aren't any overdue fines. When you return a cartridge, we send you a new one, and it's loaded with your next set of requests to take the place of the one you sent back. These machines are sturdy. They are practically impossible to break, but sometimes things do go wrong, and if your machine is broken or it starts malfunctioning, all you have to do is send it back to us at no cost. GPLS replaces it without any penalty or charge. So in addition to the machines and the cartridges and the printed Braille materials that come through the mail, we also have options for instant gratification, because this is the 21st century and that's what we like. Our easiest and fastest delivery service is the Braille and Audio Reading Download, or BARD, and the BARD mobile app. Individuals can start using BARD as soon as their GLS application is processed. The BARD app is compatible with both Apple and Android. There are versions for both the major operating systems, and it works on both tablets and smartphones. Just like with the books on cartridge, there's no waiting on a holds list for new books or wildly popular books. There's no rush to finish by the due date, because there are no due dates. And best of all, no fines to pay, because you're never late. And the audiobooks that are available through BARD are just like the digital audiobooks that you've probably gotten used to getting from Libby, from your library, or if you use Audible. It's the same audiobooks, and they just have extra accessible navigational features added to assist our print disabled customers. And don't forget the B part of BARD, because in addition to audio, BARD also offers instant downloads of books in an electronic Braille format for readers who have the devices that run those Braille files. And another value-added perk for GLS patrons is a free subscription to Bookshare. Bookshare is a nonprofit ebook library, and it's specifically for people with reading barriers. They have more than 1 million titles, and that makes it the most extensive collection of accessible ebooks in the world. So with a Bookshare subscription, patrons can customize their reading experience in whatever ways work for them. Patrons can listen to words read aloud to them with high-quality text-to-speech voices. They can read with enlarged fonts. They can see and hear at the same time as words are highlighted on a screen. And they can also download electronic Braille from Bookshare. Bookshare is a paid subscription, but GLS covers 100% of the annual charges. And that's for our patrons who request enrollment in Bookshare. It's a great add-on to the NLS and Bard collection because it does include a lot of books for school and career that may not be available elsewhere in accessible formats. GLS has a partnership with the Pines Library Card program in Georgia that provides low vision GLS patrons access to large print books from all over the state of Georgia that are held in the collections of Georgia's public libraries. And those books, once they're requested, are mailed to the patron. And then when the patron's finished, returned to us at GLS. GLS handles returning the book to the owning library. And just like everything else that we send through the mail, no mailing costs will be incurred by the patron. It's all free matter for the blind. And there won't be any due dates, won't be any fines, even though those books belong to regular public libraries. And as I mentioned earlier, printed Braille materials are sent from the Utah State Library to the patron upon request, who is a Braille reader. And we're really excited about a new service that has just recently been introduced by NLS, and that is Braille on Demand. And that allows our Braille readers to receive one title per month from the whole collection that's available on Bard. Anything that's available in Braille on Bard, they can request. It'll be printed in Braille on paper and mailed to them for their personal library. It's theirs to keep, and they can do that once a month. So we've had a lot of excitement about that from our patrons. We hear that they're asking for a lot of Harry Potter and cookbooks. So at this point, you might be wanting to know, how do I sign up for all this great stuff? Signing up is easy. We have applications on our website. They can be completed on the website and printed out. A certifying authority must sign the printed application, and I'll tell you a little bit more about certifying authorities in a minute. Printed applications are also available at any of Georgia's public library branches, so you can just ask your friendly library staff next time you're in, or you can call the GLS library and request that an application be mailed to you if you want a printed application in the mail. If you do it that way, it's self-addressed, you fold it, and again, like everything else, it's postage paid, free matter for the blind. You just mail it back in. Staff at your local library can often assist applicants with getting their applications turned in. If you get your application completed and signed by the certifying authority, bring it into your library, and they might be able to scan it and get it sent to us by email or fax. Also, if you are affiliated with any of the service agencies who work with seniors or veterans, they often assist their clients with completing applications and submitting them to GLS. So let's talk about certifying authorities. All of our potential patrons must meet the eligibility requirements for GLS services and have their applications signed by what we call a certifying authority. Now, the certifying authority must be someone who can attest to the condition that makes the person eligible for GLS. So this is typically a physician, a nurse. It might be a professional caregiver, a therapist, a social worker, a case manager. It could be a teacher, but it can't be a relative. So even if you are serving one of those functions and you are a relative, you cannot certify a family member. But also a librarian or other library personnel can certify patrons as well. So anyone who's diagnosed with a reading disability is eligible, and those applications can be certified by any professional who can attest to the person's reading disability, I should say. There are other free and low-cost resources that our patrons become eligible for automatically as soon as they are certified for our services. They can also access these. Most of these do require that certification, but the NLS certification that's provided through GLS satisfies that requirement. So Braille Bibles International, just what it says. Several different versions of the Bible are available in a number of different formats. Then there's American Printing House for the Blind, which produces a lot of accessible magazines and other publications that our patrons can access. There's also NFB Newsline, which is a national service run by National Federation of the Blind, NFB, and that's an audio recorded news service for national news publications, including newspapers and magazines, announcements, lots of updates. And then locally in Georgia, we have GARS, what we call GARS. It stands for Georgia Radio Reading Service. And that's sort of a Georgia version of NFB Newsline. They, I think, pretty much all the local newspapers in Georgia have volunteer readers reading them. There's recordings of those, recordings of Georgia magazines. There are, I think, readings of new books in installments. It's all volunteer readers. It's available to GLS patrons at no cost. You once you're eligible for that, they'll send you, I think, a special device, or it's available through an app or through the website. They also have some pretty interesting interviews, from what I understand. So, did I do everything? Yes. Let's see here. All right. So let's review the best parts of GLS. It is free. There are no costs associated with the services and products that we offer. And you can join and participate without ever leaving your house. We do offer the best customer service. It's provided over the phone by our reader advisors, who are amazing staff members who will work with every patron and make sure that their needs are being met. You get to select the genres that you like to read, the authors that you love. If you need help picking something new out, reader advisors help you with that. They'll help you compile the list so that you can keep receiving things on a good schedule. If you have preferences about what you want to hear in your books or don't want to hear, you can tell us to exclude books with certain levels of violence, with extra steamy romance, or with foul language. You can put that on your application, or you can let your reader advisor know to leave those things out. Reader advisors also offer training on how to use the talking book machine if you run into any snags or confusion with that, and they'll also help you over the phone with downloading the app and running the app. That training is available in person or over the phone. And unlike in most cases that we're used to, where they say you break it, you bought it, that's not the case with us. Like I said before, something goes wrong with the machine, you didn't buy it. It still belongs to the federal government. You send it back and we'll send you a new one. No questions asked. So the GLS Public Library is located in downtown Atlanta, and they have accessible computers and assistive technology in their space. It's open to the public and available to anyone who needs to come in and use it. People with limited mobility, low vision, blind, all kinds of print disabled. So that location is open to the public, located inside the Fulton County Central branch in downtown Atlanta, right there on Margaret Mitchell Square near the Georgia Pacific building. The hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. But we also recommend that you call your local public library branch, because they quite likely have various accessible accommodations, equipment, things they can do for you, and they can tell you all about that. GLS Atlanta does offer lots of programs for patrons to get involved with, just like any other public library. We offer different kinds of things that will educate, entertain, and enlighten. Programs are mostly virtual at this point, with some starting to be held in person again. We are observing health protocols. We host regular book clubs, and those are all held over the phone via conference call. Right now, we have 3 different groups with book clubs. We have 4 men, we have 4 women, and then we have one that's for grown folks only. And that's some of those violent and steamy and possibly foul language books that I mentioned before. Some people do want those as opposed to not wanting them. And a lot of them are in that very popular for grown folks only book club. We also have a monthly peer support group that meets over a conference call. That is very popular. I think we had about 20 people in attendance last month. It gives people a chance to get together and talk about concerns of living with blindness and low vision. A lot of the newly diagnosed will show up on that call, and they get help and support from people who've been blind for a long time, and people swap tips and tricks, and sometimes there are guest speakers. Caregivers and family members come on, and they get a lot out of it as well. We have an annual poetry slam. This year's was held in June, and it was hosted on Zoom. It was very popular. People always look forward to that. And a new offering on our program lineup is Tech Talk. That is a bi-monthly conference call. That's a 2-hour meeting to talk about technology and get help with technology. It's going to focus on both the equipment that we provide as well as other assistive devices that blind and low vision people use and need to learn more about. In addition to the being open 10 to 5, the reader advisors who help people on the phone are actually available 8 to 5 Monday through Friday for that telephone help. Oops. So GLS products and services are funded by 3 sources: the National Library Service, NLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS, and Georgia Public Library Service, GPLS. Together, we provide print materials in accessible formats based on advancing accessible technology that we're always keeping up with for our patrons. NLS staff in Washington continues to explore new avenues, new technology. They're always working on new improvements to help enhance the reading experience of our patrons. So I want you to remember that GLS, Georgia Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, is here for the benefit of those who are blind, those who have been diagnosed with a condition that leads to low vision or blindness, those who are experiencing low vision due to aging, those who have a physical disability or a condition such as Parkinson's, or they've had a stroke that prevents them from holding a book or focusing, or people with a diagnosed reading disability such as dyslexia. GLS services are designed for all ages and stages of life. So I want to ask you to please refer GLS to anyone you know who is eligible and tell them to go to their local library branch to sign up for GLS. And that completes the formal part of my presentation. I have contact information on our screen here, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Oftentimes when there's a speech to text function on these accessible books, it can be very robotic sounding in some of the technology. Are there resources or some of the equipment able to adjust that to someone who might have sensitivity to that type of audio?
Okay, yes. First of all, and I may not have made this clear, all of the NLS titles that come on the cartridge and the machine and Bard are human voice. They're all human narration, just like the Libby and Audible and the commercial audiobooks that you're used to. So that's not a concern with the NLS and the Bard collection. Bookshare, the majority of the Bookshare collection is a computer-generated voice, but there are a lot to choose from, and they are so much better than the robotic voices that I think those of us who remember the early days of computer-generated speech remember how robotic it sounded, and I assure you, I was pleasantly surprised when I heard some of the Bookshare narration, how unrobotic it sounded. But I don't even remember how many there are to choose from. You know how on your GPS maybe you have 5 or 6 to choose from. I don't know, there's 30 or 50 or something to choose from when you're listening to something on Bookshare. Another thing to know about Bookshare is that just within the last few months, they rolled out a collection of human narrated titles. So that is something to explore with them. And that might be something that they're planning on expanding. I'm not sure what their plans are for that, but they do have quite a few that they've introduced.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, many people who are avid readers really want that bestseller as soon as it comes out, right? The newest books. What is the time that those books might be available in the audio form or Braille?
As far as the audio and what becomes available on Bard from NLS, there isn't much of a lag, if any, and I think it's going to vary from publisher. But NLS has direct special agreements with the publishing companies to make sure that they're getting the content in a timely manner. So there's not going to be an administrative wait like that. And as I mentioned, there will not be a waiting on a holds list like there is in the public library.
Okay, thank you. This question is, this attendee's son is 15 and he's homeschooled, severely dyslexic, and is going to start dual enrollment in college next year. Do you have any special or suggested resources for him? And they are residents here in Gwinnett County.
Well, that sounds like a perfect fit for us. I'd say the first thing that he needs to do is get signed up for GLS, get that application, get it filled out and certified, and turn it in. Because between what we can offer through NLS and Bard and what is available on Bookshare in terms of academic texts and the things that are going to help him in school, I think he's going to be in great shape. And he can opt to use the machine if he likes the machine. He can use the app. People can use both. They don't have to choose between the two. And once he is signed up and has an account, he'll be able to talk to a reader advisor during the with all of his concerns and get his reading list lined up and be ready to go.
Okay, great, thank you. Sarah, I don't see any other questions coming in.
Okay. Well, I thank all of you for coming to listen, and I do encourage you to visit our website at gls.georgialibraries.org. You can see more about what we're doing. You can call the 800 number. It's 800-248-6701. Again, that's between the hours of 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. And you can always talk to someone there, even if you're not a patron yet, or if you just think you know someone and you just have questions. The people who answer the phones will be able to answer all of your questions. And you can also email a reader advisor at gls@georgialibraries.org, and that will go into a queue, and somebody will pick it up and answer.
Great, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing this information with us. I know it's very valuable to those who need this service, and we really appreciate taking your time out of your schedule today to introduce this to our Gwinnett County residents, as well as those all over Georgia.
You're welcome. We're happy to help, and we look forward to speaking with some of you in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone who attended, and we hope you have a nice afternoon. Thank you.